Hello and thank you for attending my PowerPoint presentation about Silverwolf, the moderator of reality. Silverwolf is the youngest and most recent member of the Stellaron Hunters. She's from a planet literally called Punklord. Her design is probably a reference to the Haxor Bunny suit in Honkai Impact 3rd, though I didn't play that game so I wouldn't really know. Her main skills involve editing reality and breaking the fourth wall. She was the first character who can implant weaknesses, and still the only one who can implant weaknesses of any element, if you can work around the team restrictions at least. In terms of base stats, she has okay base stats across the board. High speed and low energy cost to maximize her debuffs. She has a pretty decent base attack too, so she can do some substantial damage. Her basics are basic. They generate 1 skill point and generate 20 energy. They're identical to most other basics. Her skill has a base chance to implant the weakness of an on-field ally to a single target, then reduce the res of that element by 20% for 2 turns. If the enemy already has that weakness, it will not reduce res. So this takes from the elements that are on your party that the enemy does not already have, at equal weightage for each element regardless of the number of characters of each element you have. Each target can only have 1 weakness implanted by her, and only the most recent one applies. Then after all this, she has a 100% base chance to reduce the target's all-type res by further amounts for 2 turns. Finally, she deals damage to the single target. This consumes 1 skill point and generates 30 energy. Her ult has a base chance to decrease the enemy's defense by a huge amount for 3 turns. Then she deals damage to the target. This costs 110 energy. Fun fact, this Silverwolf's ult voice line actually references the current game speed that you're playing at, which is cool. Her talent allows her to create 3 types of bugs. One that reduces attack by a small amount, one that reduces defense by a small amount, and one that reduces speed by a small amount. Every time she attacks, she has a pretty low base chance to implant a random bug that lasts for 3 turns on the enemy target. This one prioritizes applying new bugs as opposed to refreshing existing bugs. These bugs cannot stack. Her A2 trace extends the duration of her bugs by 1 turn for a total of 4 turns. When an enemy is broken, there is also a 65% base chance to apply a random bug to them. This applies even when it's not broken by Silverwolf herself. Her A4 trace extends the duration of the weakness implanted by the skill for a turn for a total of 3 turns. However, the all-time res reduction still remains at 2 turns. Her A6 trace causes her to additionally reduce the all-time res of the target of her skill by 3% if there are 3 or more debuffs on the target of her skill. She also gets 28% attack, 18% effect hit rate, and 8% quantum damage bonus from minor traces. Her E1 regenerates 7 energy for each debuff on the target of her ultimate, up to 35 energy with 5 debuffs. Her E2 reduces the effect res of enemies by 20% when they enter battle. This is both permanent and unremovable. Her E3 gives +2 trace levels to her skill and talent. Her E4 will deal additional damage equal to 20% of her attack to the target of her ult for each debuff on it, up to 100% with 5 debuffs. Her E5 gives +2 trace levels to her ult and basics, and her E6 gives her 20% damage bonus for each debuff the targets of any of her attacks have, up to 100% with 5 debuffs. To be honest, Silverwolf was one of the most broken characters in 1.1, but it doesn't hold up very well in 2.6 and 2.7 with all these limited harmonies nowadays, and even in Acheron teams, which is by far her best niche, Xiaoqiu Pella is still generally better. Although, this is not to say she completely doesn't have a niche. Like, I'd say she's probably better than Pella against like single targets or just like 1 or 2 target fights. And it also allows Acheron to play better against enemies without lightning weakness, since Acheron's weakness type ignore does not ignore the inherent 20% lightning res non-lightning weak enemies have. So if you use Silverwolf to implant lightning weakness, well, so now it's 0% res, which is really helpful. Since 1.1, there was a huge hype over Mono Quantum, where you just ran like 4 quantum characters and used Silverwolf to implant weaknesses on enemies even if they didn't have quantum weakness. And it's kind of dead now. Since the last quantum character that can really be used with Silverwolf, so not Jade, since Silverwolf is a single target debuffer, is Sparkle, which was in 2.0, which was a really long time ago. Silverwolf has a lot of fourth wall breaks, especially if you look through her actual voice lines. There was the aforementioned alt voice line, which changes based on the actual speed of the game that you play in. And if you go through a voice line, there are a ton of fourth wall breaks, I believe. And also, after you get her, there's the text messages. She gaslights you into pulling. As if I need an in-game character to gaslight me into pulling, but, you know, still. Alright, hope you enjoyed. If you did, do like and subscribe. You might as well check out the other PowerPoints while you're watching this one if you haven't already. Right, bye.